So, public forum, is there anything on the agenda that the public would like to address?
We would like to say something, but you said that you would put the geese on.
Yeah, I've got the clean up of the green should be on there. So, yeah, that's geese related.
Okay, it will take a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah,
So.
sure, no worries.
Right, I just remember from the last meeting last month that we went into detail about what happened to the last goose that was attacked by a dog and thrown up in the air, etc., etc. And I was just concerned that nobody in the parish council said a thing. I mean, I would have said, "Gosh, that's really horrific," or "Wow, that's really awful to hear that there's such violence against a goose." After the one a few years ago was ripped apart in the road in the village with everybody driving around it, and it was being eaten alive. And this maybe would have happened again. So, do I assume from that? Oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Yeah? Am I interrupting you?
No, I was just making a comment
Oh.
about what was said at the last meeting, which I'll mention in a moment.
Okay. And so I was just wondering whether, is there any concern from any of you?
Well, of course, we don't like to see the people treated. What could we say? There's nothing we could, it happened and we couldn't prevent it, we weren't there. This lady's husband was there.
Which keep their dogs under control.
As I understand what specifically was raised, was that there'd been an observation of a dog that was loose that had gone towards the goose, and in fact the goose, and then there was a delivery van and the goose had gone under the van, but in fact the dog hadn't attacked the goose or anything like that, so something had happened,
Yeah.
but there was no injury that was caused by a dog or anything. That's how I understood it being reported.
No, the dog got hold of the goose. It was the man in the Anglian water lorry that beat it off with a broom that made it let go.
Right.
It was attacked.
I think I can only speak for myself.
I don't recall anything being said about it.
Of course, we care about the geese. As you know, we try to look after the geese and anything that is reported. If a goose is injured, then we try to get it to the vets, etc. So I think you can be assured, certainly from my part, and I would imagine from everybody else nodding their heads here, that of course we do care for the geese. Any specific comments that you have with regards to the geese and what we can be doing for their welfare, you share that with us anyhow, and we take that on board where we can.
Okay, well, just because something else has happened to the geese and it just carries on and on and on, do you have any other plans as a parish council to make it safe for the geese, to keep the animals safe?
Well, there was an idea that Graham had, and it's all one thing from this chicken and egg or goose and egg situation where if we can buy the village green, we had plans, or Graham had an idea to, in the middle, to form, dig out a big pond there and then fence it off, and they'll have the stream running through in the winter, and then to keep them within their fencing the compound.
I remember him coming up with something, but remember this conservation area, so to build anything permanent on the green is unlikely. That's a permanent structure.
Yeah. But I think what...
We had a fence for when they...
Okay, but...
I think what is highlighting is that, you know, the situation with the green is evolving. We'll be looking at that at the moment. There isn't anything that we can do with the green because the green doesn't belong to us and we can't contact the owners of the green. Until that point, there is very little that we could do to containers, for example. I also think that it's a very difficult line because are the geese wild or are they domesticated?
You seriously don't know.
What do you think?
They're domestic animals. They're farm animals. They don't fly. They are bred by humans. They are not wild. They can't get up and... Somebody asked you the other day, why don't they fly away? They're incapable of flying anywhere. They're heavy geese bred by man. There's nothing wild about them. You have released them into the wild. That means no fencing and things like this.
They've been there for years.
Now,
They've come from the farm.
and sorry, John, we went down to one goose, and the parish council bought another 14, and you released them onto the green.
There's been a lot more than that on the green.
I'm not talking about that.
I think, I think that all of this has been spoken about before. All I can say is that we do care about the geese, that it is ongoing, and as things change, we will keep
Well, what? All I want to say.
Any suggestions, we'll take on board.
What I want to say is, you are, as a parish councillor, you supposedly own these geese. That you don't have a way of keeping them safe, and my comment is basically, if you can't keep these animals safe, then don't have them. And I would say that to anybody about any animals that they keep. If you can't keep them safe, don't have them. It's as simple as that. Also, you've got DEFRA's DEFRA's latest situation, which is from 18th of January as avian influenza prevention zones, and it's saying that, where's the other one? You should be doing a lot to look after the birds already. Biosecurity advice.
Yeah, I've read that because I have chickens.
You have chickens, and you're not doing anything with this, so you really should be.
So the main point in that is that you should feed, when you're feeding them, which we're not at the moment, when you're feeding them, you have to feed them away from other wild birds. We're not feeding them at the moment.
We know, and that's shameful.
We don't need to be feeding them because we've had that advice before. So I have, as a poultry owner, I have read these because it applies to my chickens, and it doesn't apply to the geese because we're not feeding the geese. At the point where it's really frosty, we have to feed the geese. Then we will have to decide what we're going to do. For the time being,
it's not all about feeding,
it's not relevant. So, yeah.
Can I just
sure.
Unless we finish that, can you just draw to your attention my contemporaneous note of what was said at the last meeting? My handle note is geese, dog loose, stroke black and white, goose went under lorry, brackets Anglian water, not necessarily injured. So I took a note of the time.
Okay.
And?
I think the point is that we didn't seem concerned. We are concerned about the welfare of this. We are aware of the most recent guidelines.
Sorry, Tim, those are the notes from the meeting, yes?
Yes.
Well, you can go on YouTube and you can hear what was actually said, because that was a lot more than those notes.
So that's the note that I did at the time.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
And that's why I record.
But I mean, I
Who
think
says
it's
what?
more long about this forever because this, Sammy doesn't want to consult the green and doesn't agree with it. And the village voted to keep the Christmas
Yes,
here. So it's really
I think we are acting on behalf of the village
Exactly.
based on what the village wanted us to do. That's a really,
We're trying to
really,
do our best.
and a key point, and we are trying to do our best. We don't want any harm to come to the geese, of course we don't. But we are doing what we have been asked to do on behalf
I
of
still
the
have
parish
today,
council.
and they always were quite proud of me. They don't seem to be in any trouble. They seem to be quite happy. Keeping birds from the way to grass.
What about the 18 that are dead, Peggy? They are quite happy, I suppose.
I think with this can go round in circles.
Yeah.
We're not going to move any further forward. So I think that now green cleaning rota. So previously, for those people that are new onto the parish council, I set up a rota so we can just make sure in the summer months, spring and summer months, that the green is kept as tidy as we can keep it. So especially where the geese tend to hang out by the bus stop, that is swept, and then the area, the play area and the green and everything is kept clean. I'm quite prepared to put together another rota. All we need is people to say that they're willing to help, and what we were tending to do is have a couple of people do it per week and have kind of team. Ask people from the public if they want to help, because we had a few people help last time. So I'll talk to Graham and remind myself who those people were and reach out to them, and then put together a rota. Obviously, like any rota, if you can't do it, just switch. So everyone.
Just to give you the background on that speed limit request, it came about because of the data that we've now got from the vehicle activated sign that's confirmed that Thurston Road inbound into Beyton is the busiest road for Beyton. It's about 2,500 vehicles a day on average during the week, and it's about 1,650 at weekends. About half of them are speeding. So as a result of that, and by the way, it's been placed there 5 times, and the highest recorded speed in those 5 sessions, 80, 75, 80, 70, 80. So, as a result of that, we approached the police to see if we could have a new speed watch position which monitors the traffic coming in from Thurston. They've said no to that. The reason being that one of the requirements for speed watch is that you have to be a minimum of 300 metres from the start of the speed limit. If we stand right on the edge of the green, which is where we were proposing to stand, looking down towards the underpass, it's borderline whether that's 300 metres. The device we use is capable of detecting cars well beyond 300 metres. So they said you couldn't be sure that the vehicle was within the speed limit when you recorded the speed.
So if we move
So
it,
as a result, well, exactly. But also, during the discussion, it was felt that coming out of that slip road on the A14 is quite tricky because you have limited view to your left because of the bend in the road, and cars legally can do 60 miles an hour at that point. So you pull out, and not quite often, you have somebody right up your backside pretty quick. So, and I'll email that if anyone wanted reasons why we were requesting the change. I can give you the figures.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we were suggesting about 100 metres back towards the caravan site.
Absolutely. Forward to that then. Date of the next meeting, Monday the 5th of March, here, again at 7:30. Thank you very much. Cheers.
I'm sure I've circulated this.
Okay. I've been adding to we had somebody over that was very important, and it was quite stressful to the domestic.
Let me think about that then.
this year to supplement the grants.
Of course it could be.
Okay, I just wondered whether they made that one up or.
Maybe Graham wants it. Yes, I am. Yes, the project went through. When is it? Oh, I think
I responded to an email. I obviously received an email from Andrew, which wasn't meant for me. Do you know somebody else called Ian somewhere around the world?
Ian's in our life all over the place. But
Oh, right. Well,
I was gone. He was playing with the iPad, and he doesn't know how to do it.
okay. Well, I did respond to him saying this
What was it?
Oh, just a hi, how are you? Haven't heard from you, sort of thing. This is, greetings from Suffolk or something. But it obviously wasn't meant for me.
No, I left him. I went away for a week, and I left him with an iPad, and I'm surprised somebody didn't have
Well, I
one.
did reply to him, so it did go to you.
I'm going to ask her about this feeding thing. When did they decide not to feed them? Yeah, well, whose decision? But John, we didn't release them. Yeah, you did. Oh, it's quite a meeting. Now, without being pedantic, when did the parish council decide not to feed the geese?
So I think from memory, this is from memory, we only feed them when it's frosty. We don't think that they can get the grass.
Where do you get this information from?
Again, from memory, I think we had, and I'll look. We can look back through the.
But wasn't it a meeting? Because I haven't missed it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure we've discussed it before, haven't we? And that's the vet's recommendation, or the people that we've the wildlife people, the whoever.
Well, the wildlife people that, DEFRA, etc., Natural England, etc., have all said to me that because they're domestic animals, you need to supplement in the winter when the grass doesn't have very many nutrients in it, and so they should be supplemented. They're not starving to death, but they're hungry, and I just wondered what. Does anybody know anything? There's nothing in here about feeding. You're talking about your birds.
Look, I'll show you online.
Keep birds separate from wildlife and wildfowl by putting suitable fencing around. There's nothing in there if you're feeding them. Anyway, look at those.
There is, because it's only because I coach myself because of the I get things on Facebook.
Okay, slide that one over there.
Is there something to press, John?
I'll do that.
I mean, they've always been fed until this year by the farmer for 30 years and by the village for the last 7 years.
So I could be wrong, but I thought that they weren't being fed because there was no frost on the ground,
Nothing.
and that's when there was a heavy frost and they couldn't get to the grass or the goodness of the grass. That's when we were supplementing their feeding. That's what it does sound familiar.
But we have heavy frost all the time, and it does go away later on. But I think it's a cop out.
I'm only telling you what.
They're staying up in the dark now and staying out about 2 hours longer where they're vulnerable because they have to eat more. Well, I would be careful. Good night. Right. Good.
Yes, thank you. Definitely in there somewhere. I'll have to hunt it out.
If you could find it.
It does say about feeding.
Okay, whose idea was this? Because none of you have the slightest idea.
As I said, from memory, that's what had been agreed at previous meetings, and that is just my.
But I just don't understand.
That's what I believe from memory.
Yeah, I just don't understand if it's, I mean, if nobody knows what's whoops, what they mean or anything like that, I don't know. If you can't look after them, don't have them. I'm sorry, but it's against the law releasing these into the wild, and everybody knows that, but nobody will accept it. So, one of these days you're going to get kicked in the guts from it.
Like I've said, we're doing what we were asked to do.
But you can't keep the geese. I know you cannot keep the geese safe. If the villagers want to make a human sacrifice every week, then they all voted for it, so let's do it. Let's bring back bear baiting. That's nice and cruel. The villagers like it because they like to cheer. So let's do it. Come on, Adele. Wake up.